I wanted to make another video about an anime movie, so I went searching and found a movie called Maquia, When the Promised Flowers Bloom. This movie actually isn't too old, being released back in 2018, and the source for this movie is actually a manga. If you don't got time to watch a movie but would still like to, know about it, I recommend reading the manga since it only spans across 27 chapters, which for some may be the better option, since the movie actually is 2 hours long. But if you don't want to bother with that, stay and just listen and I'll talk about it. But obviously I'll be spoiling everything, just so you know. But with that, let's talk about it. And we're better to start than from the beginning. The beginning kicks off with a girl narrating for a little bit, before we get to see our main character, Maquia, living in a peaceful place in a part of a clan called the Clan of the Separator. Now if you're wondering why the clan is called this, because their appearance don't change, and they live a long life, far longer than that of any regular human, for the fact. So even though some other clans already died out or long gone, they are still here. By the way, I want to note that, is it just me or do everyone here look like a woman? Even though there is for a fact that there are men included in this group. Anyway, continuing with the story, we learn that Maquia is actually feeling sad being here all the time, because she feels lonely. But the elder of this clan decides to give her a talking to let her know that everything will be okay. But one of the main things she talks to her about is that she should never engage with someone outside the clan, claiming that if she does, she will become truly lonely. Fast forward a little bit later, she sees someone sneaking off, so she decides to follow them. When she finds out, it's just her friends, Krim and Lilia, and she sees them showing signs of affection towards each other, like lovers. And this actually brings her to tears, realizing how lonely she is. This doesn't last long though, since the kingdom used Renato to attack them. Renato being dragons, basically. So they need to protect their cloth, the Hebo. By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, the cloth is sacred to their clan. Now, if you're wondering what the soldier is doing here, it's an order to take the women and murder anyone who resists. But let's be honest, they're only interested in the women, so they're gonna try to murder the men anyway. Now, during this time, one of the dragons that the soldier brought starts to chirp out a little bit and runs into a place where Maquia was hiding. And after it flies out, Maquia ends up accidentally going with it by holding on to the fabric that was attached to the dragon, therefore separating her from her clan. But it doesn't really matter because her clan hiding place, or more of their peaceful lands, have gone to shit now. Now, after the dragon mates off with Maquia, it accidentally ends up crashing and offing itself, leading Maquia to wake up later in the forest stranded alone. But she wasn't alone for too long though, because she comes across a tent with 3 people in it, one being a random man, a dead lady, and a baby, and within the dead lady's hands. Now, since Maquia just didn't want to let the baby die, she decided upon herself that she would take it and care for him. Obviously though, since she is a mother, raising a baby will be hard, but she runs across the lady and her sons, who decides to help her. And for a while, everything starts to look good, because Maquia is starting to get the hang of motherhood. So much time has passed now that the baby is probably a little bit older, seeing the fact that he's a little bit bigger than a toddler. And by the way, there's going to be actually quite a few time skips in this movie, so bear with me. Now, since things are getting a little bit complicated, since the king who sent the soldiers in the first place has someone already from the Maquia clan, decided that Maquia should switch locations so she don't get caught by the kingdom. So she hops on a boat and decides to go somewhere else. And actually, while she's on this boat, she's run into someone from her clan, with that person being Krim. And he actually tells her why the kingdom wants their clan so bad, with the reason that they was attacked for their blood. The kingdom wants to create an offspring with someone from the clan of the Separator so they can have someone who lives far longer than any regular human. But that isn't the actual only reason that Krim is here. No. He's actually planning an assault on the prince in order to get Liliana back. And so, they set their plan into motion, which ends up failing, but not because the plan was terrible, or because anything went wrong. Well, one thing did go wrong. One thing Krim did not account for, and that being Liliana being already pregnant with the prince's offspring. And because of this, Liliana decides to stay, because she can no longer look Krim in the eye with someone else's kid inside of her. And when this news gets back to Krim, he has the reaction you probably would think he would have. He's depressed as hell, acting like a downer because he can't see his woman anymore. So he just decides to up and leave. And with that, we're just back to Maquia and Ariel again, and now search for a new job and somewhere new to live. And while this is all going on, she starts to have trouble again, being a single mother. But despite it all, she does still try her best to be a mother to Ariel, showing another time skill to where she finds a job so she can keep raising him. Plus, after this time skill, Ariel is older, I'll say somewhere from like mid to late teens. Now, they end up actually running into someone they know, but not someone from their clan, but Lang, the son of the mother who lived with them in the beginning. So they have a nice luxury chat and decide to have a conversation with each other, to catch up for old time's sake. Now, after Ariel leaves the room to go, do some side work, Lang and Maquia actually starts to talk about how Ariel realized that he isn't actually Maquia's son, and they discuss what's happening to Lilia too. Which actually leads us transitioning to this ugly fuck, the king, talking about how his son is actually tired of Liliana and wishes to have a different woman. But he gotta choose one, the woman or women from Maquia's clan. By the way, the king and prince actually sees the same stance along with the royals about Maquia's clan, that they do not see them as human, even though they look like human. They refer to Maquia's clan as monsters because they live a long life. Even as the Offspring, his daughter, they refer to her as a monster, not even half human. And honestly, for most of the characters I feel sorry for the most is Liliana, because after giving birth she was locked away in her room, only longing to see her daughter. And even though the head guard wants to help her and feels sorry for her, he can't go against orders. So Liliana does make one request: if she can't see her daughter, at least let her see a friend, with that friend being Maquia. Fast forward later, Lane lets Maquia know that the soldiers are actually starting to look for her and asks her to live with him again, not only to protect her, but to also have her as a wife, because he confesses her feelings to her at the same time. Unfortunately though, she does reject both his offers, because Maquia is only interested in being a good mother to Ariel. If only Ariel were to understand, because he sees Maquia not as a mother, but he's starting to see her as a woman. Don't get it twisted though, because Maquia only sees Ariel as a son, nothing more. She raised him after all. Now, time for a little bit of turning point, because with Ariel still growing up, he decides to leave and become a soldier, because he just can't let Maquia protect him for all his life. And after he leaves, Maquia ends up actually getting kidnapped by who you presumably thought is the same people who took Lilia, the soldiers. But it actually turns out to be Cream's ass, but we'll come back to that later, because we actually go through another time scale showing that Ariel is now a grown man and a soldier. But not only that, he's now a father and a husband, expecting a child soon. Now, after this time skip happened, a lot of events happen as well, because after the time skip, the fall of the kingdom starts to happen, and this leads to a lot of events taking place right during or right after. Like, let's talk about one, being Ariel being forced to run off to battle, and his wife going into labor at the same time. But let's get back to this in a second. Let's talk about what happened after the king fell into ruin, because after the kingdom fell into ruin, the king and the royals and the prince decide to leave, leaving behind everyone who they don't give a fuck about, and one of them people being Lilia. So when we transition to Lilia, we actually see that Cream able to find her. Now, you would think this is a good, since they used to love each other and all, but it actually isn't. Remember, Lilia has a daughter now, and since she doesn't want to leave her behind, she asks Cream to bring her along with them. But Cream, he's guided by his faith in the cloth, so he could give less of a fuck about her daughter. But since Cream loves Liliana so much, he comes up with the ultimate plan. That's for them to reunite Romeo and Juliet, offing each other and taking each other out. But obviously Liliana wants to live, and before she's killed by Cream is actually killed by the head guard who decides to stay behind and help. But he still kind of lies, so he walks off and decides to die by himself by a tree and a dragon. Now let's talk about the other event going on, and that being Ariel's wife giving birth while Ariel is going off to battle. And while she's screaming, no one is there to help her. But Maquia actually hears her, screaming from the woods, and decides to go up to their house and help her deliver the baby. And it actually turns out to be a success. So Maquia decides to go to the battlefield after the battle is over to let Ariel know that he now has a child that has been born. And they actually have a little conversation, with the conversation ending with Ariel letting Maquia know that he's proud that she was his mother, and then parting ways.
Please, don't go. Please, Mom!
And this leads to Maquia actually finding Krill's body a little bit later in the dragon before setting the dragon free and riding off on it. Well, before she ends up picking up Liliana, then riding off. Now, pay attention, because we're at the final time skip. Now, after the time skip happens, Maquia decides she wants to meet Ariel one last time. And to my surprise, this is actually a long time skip, because when Maquia meets Ariel, he's an old man now. And while Ariel is just laying on the bed, Maquia decides to talk about him and tell her how she's proud of that he lived a great long life, but more importantly, she loved the fact that Ariel was her son. And after she leaves the house, she starts to reminisce about everything she went through, before ending the story riding off, loving the fact that she was Ariel's mother. Now, of course, I did gloss over small details that I felt weren't that important, but if you ask me, I personally love the movie from the amazing music to the pacing. Now, obviously, it's not a masterpiece, but it's close damn near, because I like how it wasn't on no weird shit, and how it portrayed a genuine mother and son relationship, showing Ariel from being a baby all the way to being an old man, and showing how Maquia actually struggled being a single mother and it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows. Personally, it made Maquia one of my favorite anime characters, if I'm being honest. Now, if you ask me why I rate this movie, I rate it 9 out of 10 and recommend you watch it for yourself. Remember, this is my opinion, so if you disagree, it's cool. But if you've already seen the movie, comment what you rated. But with that, that's basically it.